Okay, so here's a important, let's say, concept regarding the price ceiling and then price floor. The government or some of the regulations, to control for the price. Okay, so usually we talk about the price ceiling. Also, if you are talking about ceiling, you will think about something high, right? But in this case, that the price ceiling is that we cannot increase the price, above certain level. In this case, I put the C here. The ceiling is the price lower than the equilibrium. And then that will be the price floor, means the price cannot fall below a certain level. In this case, it will be above the equilibrium price. Let's say I give you an example, but this example is how to say that the difference for China and then for the US. The US, the gasoline, usually we put a price ceiling for the gasoline. Okay, so also in the previous, let's say that the energy crisis in the 70s, last century, that the price ceiling means that the gasoline cannot increase to a certain level. It must be below that because we need it, because this is very important for our daily life, right? So the government control the price very low. But let me tell you, nowadays, like our government, the Chinese government, that they are setting a price floor for gasoline, meaning that the gasoline cannot be below, okay, for below the certain price. So the idea is behind it, the government, because of those companies, gasoline companies, they are the state-owned company, and then they want to guarantee their profit. Okay, so then the government help them to set the let's say that the price floor. The price is much higher than the equilibrium price. Individuals, or let's say private companies, we are not allowed to deal with those gasoline business. All right. In that case, that if you are doing those business, you're illegal. Okay. So I read a news a couple of days ago that there's a guy that he sold a cheaper gasoline and then he got caught and then put into the jail. The same product, but in different countries, I mean, they use government to regulate the price differently, right? Ceiling is to protect the consumer, right? Price floor is to protect the supplier. So this is a very different, let's say that the idea or the the orientation behind that. Draw the line here. That this gap is, more like the shortage. Why? Because it's cheap. So the consumer want to buy more. Okay, but the supply, has the less motivation to produce, to fulfill that the demand, the quantity demand. But if this is the price floor, meaning that the government, let's say the supply is produced more, it's a surplus. Okay, surplus, which is much more than the consumer wants. In this case, that the price ceiling, that here we talk about some of the rent control. I think that's easy. We already explained you that the ceiling is the price below the equilibrium of the E1. But why I said that there's a shortage, meaning that in this case, the rent cannot, cross a certain line. That means the demand is higher at this point, but the supply is lower. Okay, so that's the gap. This gap we call it the shortage. But if it is this, like the price floor, it's a surplus because the producer, they want to produce more. Okay, so this I don't like those examples, but just showing you that the visual, give you the visual, let's say that to understand this further. This is the surplus. Okay, so because the supply want to produce more than the quantity demanded. Yeah. So once we're talking about this demand and supply, and then also like the equilibrium, right? So we needed to introduce you another piece of, let's say that the concept, which is about the consumer surplus and then producer surplus. So I like to use the diagram to show you, but anyway, so this is about the social surplus. This is more like whether we get, once we have the demand and supply, meet each other, that whether we have the, the result of the social, we call the social well-being. Okay, so in general, that the equilibrium will give us the optimized, let's say the social well-being. So because this is more like efficient. But if we have the government step in to control the price, no matter it's the price floor or price ceiling, that will, cause a let's say, less efficient, let's say that the result. So use the diagram that let me show you, because this usually we want to maximize the consumer surplus and the producer surplus. But in that case, why we call this as a consumer surplus or producer surplus is because if we check this demand curve and then the supply curve, you see the equilibrium, let's say, point is here, right? If we are talking about the consumer surplus, meaning if we have like a different consumers, some of those they want to, they are willing to purchase the demand because they are rich. They are willing to purchase the product at a very high level. But now they are, they are better off. Why? Because they can enjoy the lower price at this equilibrium decided by the market, right? And then this is the same applied to the supply curve, because there is a, let's say that we call a company because they are very big. They doesn't matter, but they can, you know, they are willing to produce at a very low price. For example, at this area, okay. So here that in the K point of K, you know, they can produce at that point, but now they are enjoy a higher price, okay, and then they are better off as well. Why? Because they earn more money. So this two put together we call a social surplus, and then consumer surplus, and then the producer surplus. Anything behind that, because once we talk about the, you know, that the price ceiling or price floor, it doesn't matter, right? So and then we must cut, you know, part of this, because if we are ending up here or ending up here, it doesn't matter. We lost this. This part is we call it the dead weight. Is it called the dead weight loss? Dead weight loss. Okay. So the dead weight loss is the area that if we, you know, set the price, you know, higher or lower than the equilibrium price. Although that we always trying to, you know, from the economics perspective, we always want to maximize the surplus to get, you know, no matter get the society better off. Okay, so no matter it's for the consumer or it's for the producer. Okay, so this is just explain you that by different, you know, the price ceiling or price floor, we will have some of the so-called the dead weight loss. All right. So the idea is this is the area we lost. This is the area we lost, because this is more like a price. Okay, and then this is the demand that drives the supply. In this case, this is the supply. Okay, drives the demand. All right. So we have some. We lost some. Let's say that the surplus compared to this the most efficient, you know, that the equilibrium situation. All right. So see you next time.